Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 244 of Bill Man the Sport Guys podcast. I'm your host, Bill Man the Sports Guy. Always remember for the latest weekly news of the NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, college sports, WNBA, this is the podcast to be. So, today's episode, we're going to cover some stories, some news, basically, sports news. That is. Now, first of all, one of the biggest news in the sports world that has come out. So the Seattle Seahawks are supposed to versus the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl. And by the way, go Seahawks, because that's who I got winning. Um, their owner, Jody Allen, is about to put the team up for sale after the Super Bowl. It's a crazy move, in my opinion, because what if the Seahawks win the Super Bowl and then they get put up for sale? I don't seem to understand this part, as while she does also owe part of the Portland Trail Blazers to Tom Dudden. Now, honestly, she's done a fine job as owning the Seattle Seahawks. After all, they did win a Super Bowl back in like 2013 against the Denver Broncos, where they squashed Peyton Manning to pieces. But this news is really shocking to me. And the question I ask is, what could this mean for the Seattle Seahawks? Let's say they won the Super Bowl. All of a sudden, they get put up for sale. Now, what kind of a team are they going to be come next season and for many years to come? Are they even going to stay in Seattle? That's what I'm having trouble understanding with. So, excuse me, let me know your thoughts and opinions on Twitter at Billman Sports, Instagram at Billman Sports Guy, and here on YouTube at Billman Sports Guy. Next up, we got a lot of hockey news to talk about, and I'm also going to give out some of my predictions on some of the remaining free agents because there's still some that have not signed. And also my top 10 NHL players who I think are most likely going to get traded between now and the NHL trade deadline, because there's potential we could see some more NHL moves happen before the Olympics and before the freeze, which pretty sure it goes by February 4th, which is on a Wednesday. So let's get to it. First baseball news we're going to talk about is David Robertson, who has played Major League Baseball for about 17 seasons, has announced his retirement. David Robertson played mostly with his time in New York with the Yankees. 18 seasons, that is. He's played with the New York Yankees. He has also played for the Philadelphia Phillies. He has also played for the Chicago Cubs, the New York Mets, the Miami Marlins, the Chicago White Sox, and that's about it. So honestly, David Robertson, definitely top 20 greatest closer in baseball. He was one of the solid ones. Is he Hall of Fame worthy? No. He was also part of the New York Yankees 2009 World Series team, but I think he was just a really, really good closer throughout his career. And if the MLB Hall of Goods wants to elect him, he should be in it. So, David Robertson, 179 in his career, over 881 appearances with a career ERA of 293. And congratulations on a wonderful career to David Robertson. Now, we got some signings. First of all, shortstop Jacob Wilson of the Sacramento Athletics. I know they're supposed to be called Las Vegas, but they're not in Las Vegas, so we'll just refer to them as the Sacramento Athletics. Anyway, Jacob Wilson signed a 7-year, $70 million contract extension, which also includes an 8-year club option. And Jacob Wilson's done good. Very solid, good baseball player. He does bring a bit of value to the Athletics, and I think he's going to do very well for the Athletics for many years to come. The A's have kind of quietly been spending money for the past 2 seasons. Look at some of the extensions to Lawrence Butler, Brent Rooker even. So good move. All right. We do have two signings. First of all, let's just go to my favorite baseball team really quick, the Chicago White Sox, because they signed Austin Hayes on a 1 year, $5 million contract. Now, Austin Hayes did enjoy a bit of a bounce back season with the Cincinnati Reds, hitting 266 with 15 home runs and a 768 OPS over 103 games. Good bounce back year, and I like that the White Sox just basically another low risk, high reward. I think Hayes is most likely going to be the center fielder in 2026 since Luis Robert Jr. is now in the New York Mets. And honestly, I'm perfectly fine with this move. Now, to call it a good offseason, I would prefer like another pitcher and another like hitter to satisfy me. A Mike Talkman reunion, maybe. But overall, I have no problem with Austin Hayes signing. I actually like this one. And in my opinion, I've said this many times, I think 1 year contracts are the best contracts in all sports because you don't have to panic about how much money you got to keep for however many years for other teams to eat up because it's a 1 year deal. They are the least consequential contracts, in my opinion. Now, why am I wearing a San Francisco Giants hat? Some of you may ask. Well, it is because the Giants signed Luis Ariz on a 1 year, $12 million contract. What I find shocking about this signing is Luis Ariz only got a 1 year deal at 12 million. Now, honestly, Luis Ariz is a very, very good contact hitter. Like when he's hitting 320, 350, that value is really, really good. However, Luis Ariz did hit 8 home runs, but doesn't have much power in the bat. I believe he only hit like 10 plus home runs like once throughout his entire career. And I think that came in 2021 with the Minnesota Twins. Trying to remember off the top of my head. Now, he did hit 292, but he did hit 354 with an 861 OPS in 2023. And honestly, Luis Ariz is also not a very good defender, so don't know where the Giants are going to put him in the lineup. But if Luis Ariz is hitting like 320, 350, that's fine. The problem with Ariz's game is he's just not a good defender and hardly a lack of power. That's all I'm going to say. Now, speaking of baseball, we did get a couple more. Actually, I'm going to save. Actually, there's a trade happening. I'll just put in the next episode. Anyway, now before big news out of the NBA is Paul George got suspended for 25 games due to a violation of the league's anti-drug policy. No other details have been reported. He was averaging 16 points per game for the Philadelphia 76ers. And honestly, the 76ers are kind of streaky this season. So, Paul George, good player, but not a smart move. Not going to lie. And, what are the 76ers going to do? Let me know your thoughts and opinions. Let's go to the NBA really quick because there was a trade that happened, and the Sacramento Kings have acquired DeAndre Hunter from the Cleveland Cavaliers in a three-team trade. Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis are going to the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Chicago Bulls get Dario Saric plus 2 second-round picks. Now, Hunter for the second consecutive seasons on the move, and I think he's going to do fine with the Sacramento Kings. Dennis Schroeder, I feel bad for the guy. This is, I think, his 11th team in the past 10 years, something like that. And he's now going to another team in the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I hope he can do very well for them. Now, Saric, I don't know too much about him, so I can't really comment too much about his game other than I hope it helps the Bulls improve because the Bulls are so streaky. And also with that, the Bulls did waive Javon Carter, which that does hurt because I thought Javon Carter was solid, but it's an okay move on the Bulls end, I guess. But interesting on the Cleveland's end, and same with Sacramento. Alrighty. Let's go to five MLB free agency signings because there's some that still have not happened. So, first of all, Let's just go by position. Andrew McCutchen for designated hitter. I think Andrew McCutchen is gonna re-sign with the Pittsburgh Pirates. He has to retire as a member of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Framer Valdez, I think he's honestly gonna go to the Baltimore Orioles. Zach Gallen, how about a one-year deal flyer with the Chicago White Sox? I'd be down for that. Zach Little, I think he's gonna go to the Cubs. He'll be a solid, good pitching help for them. Patrick Corbin, gonna go back to the Arizona Diamondbacks where it all began. I think Eric Fetty's going to go to the Texas Rangers. I think Justin Verlander's going to go back to the Detroit Tigers. Max Scherzer to the Chicago White Sox. Please. Can we see that happen? I also think they're going to reunite with Lucas Giolito. Marcus Stroman going back to the Toronto Blue Jays. I think John Means is going to go to the Baltimore Orioles. And another pitcher I'm going to predict, Jordan Montgomery, I think he's going to go to the San Francisco Giants. Now, as for right fielders, I think Mike Tauchman's going to re-sign with the White Sox. Starling Marte, let's see him back with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Why not? Then I believe Michael Conforto is going to go to the White Sox. I think Kike Hernandez is going to stay with the Los Angeles Dodgers. I think Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is going to go to the Milwaukee Brewers. Adam Frazier is going to go to the Cincinnati Reds. I think Roman Urias is going to go to the Yankees. I think Jose Iglesias should go back to the New York Mets. And I believe Luis Rengifo is going to go to the Los Angeles Dodgers for shortstops. First baseman, Carlos Santana to the Chicago White Sox. Let's see it happen. And let's also see them trade him to the Detroit Tigers. He'd be the first player to play for all 5 teams in the Central Division. How cool would that be? Nathaniel Lowe, I think he's going to go to the Washington Nationals. I think Paul Goldschmidt's going to go back to the Diamondbacks. I think Rhys Hoskins is going to go to the Cubs and be a solid bench bat. And Dominic Smith, I think he's going to go to the Nationals. Then as for catchers, okay, nobody, but that's all for my predictions. Now for the NHL. Artemi Panarin. Actually, let's go from 10 to 1. According to CNN, or not CNN, but the Daily, it was put up by Chris Johnson at The Athletic, actually. Anyway, I don't think the Minnesota Wild are going to trade Jesper Wallstad because why on earth would they do that? Nazem Kadri, I think he's going to go back to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Luke Shen, going to go to the Florida Panthers. They need a solid right-handed defenseman. Dougie Hamilton, call me crazy. I think he's going to go to the St. Louis Blues. Blake Coleman, I think he will go to the Winnipeg Jets. Robert Thomas, he's going to go to the New Jersey Devils. Shane Wright, Winnipeg Jets. Let's see that happen. Evander Kane, I think, honestly, Evander Kane sounds like a Florida Panther in my eyes, which that's going to be terrifying. Vincent Trocheck, Detroit Red Wings. Artemi Panarin, I think he's going to go to the Colorado Avalanche. And this concludes episode number 244 of Bill Man the Sport Guys podcast. I'm your host, Bill Man the Sports Guy. For the latest weekly news of the NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, college sports, WNBA, this is the podcast to be. Have a good evening, everybody. Stay tuned for episode number 245. Peace.